Alert Media.
Hello, my fellow Dreadites. Welcome back to the Dread Alert podcast. I'm Vince, and today I'm joined by Linus O'Brien. Linus is the director of the documentary film Strange Journey, the story of Rocky Horror, which focuses on the history, the development, the influence, and impact of the Rocky Horror Show and the Rocky Horror Picture Show just in time for the film's 50th anniversary. Linus's father, Richard O'Brien, who features heavily in the documentary, wrote and stars in the Rocky Horror Show and the Rocky Horror Picture Show as Riff Raff, and we are thrilled to have Linus here today to talk about this incredibly moving documentary. Linus, thank you so much.
It's a real pleasure to be here. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. I have to tell you, and I hope I don't embarrass you too much by gushing, I loved the documentary. The Rocky Horror Picture Show specifically was such a big part of my youth. I was a theater kid. I have a degree in musical theater, and unfortunately my college did the show a year after I graduated, so I did not get get a
Oh,
chance to flex my muscles as Eddie. But this show has helped shape me and has helped expand my mind in ways that I didn't know that it needed expanding. It's a beautiful piece of art, and I can't thank you enough for bringing this history, this oral history, to audiences. I think it's really worth the time for people to see it, especially if they're fans.
just a real pleasure to hear that. The response we've been getting from film festivals and audiences in general is far beyond anything we conceived of. We always wanted it to be emotional and supportive and joyful and funny, but I never expected theaters full of people watching a documentary to begin with, and then watching our documentary, and then having the emotional reaction that they've been having. So yeah, the reaction has been far beyond anything I think anyone in our team thought of, really. So to hear it from you as well is really lovely to hear.
It was beautiful. And I sort of want to highlight the fact that this is a history of the stage production all the way through the shadow casts and where we are today. So,
Hmm.
it has a slightly different title on stage. I don't know if you want to speak to the differences between the two pieces of art because they're distinct.
Yeah, I mean that the original production was only meant to run for 3 weeks in a theater that held 60 people. And that was, if it had been sold out every night of those performances, which it was, that would have been enough for everyone involved. So from that super tiny acorn, this like phenomenon has grown. So yeah, it's really yeah, it's just amazing the things that had to happen in order for us to get where we are now with Rocky are so crazy when you try to connect all the dots. There were so many chances for it not to exist and not to have this cultural impact that it does. But it found a way, and I think that's due to the attachment and the connection that fans and the community of fans that has grown up around it. I mean, at the end of the day, Rocky will its legacy will be community and connection.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that is a wonderful legacy. And you mentioned the fans. This story is told through your father's eyes largely in some ways, but also through the eyes of the fans. And I wonder what drew you to making a film like this, not just honoring your father's legacy, but honoring the legacy of the people it affected.
Well, I think that's what we always set out to do. We wanted to celebrate the fans who've loved it so much for all these years. That was the the word I'm looking for. That was the I don't know. That was what it was all based around, and to be able to celebrate my father's music, tell the origin story, talk about his personal journey, the effect on the midnight screenings, and the effect on the LGBTQ community. I mean, it became it became easy in my eyes about how the story would be shaped and how the documentary would be shaped, and that bore out during the editing process, which was literally only 2 months, and a very quick and really fun experience for myself and my creative partner Avner Shiloah.
I'm floored to hear that that only took 2 months because the documentary looks beautiful. It's your
Mm.
cinematographer was incredibly competent. The shots are just gorgeous. But you had so much
Hmm.
archival footage of the original production and the Roxy
Hmm.
production. I'm shocked that you put that all together in 2 months.
Well, it speaks to the team that we have behind us, the archival producer, Gideon, our producers, Adam Gibbs and Garrett Price, my creative partner. Without the team, without this team, this specific team that we have, this movie doesn't get made the way that it has been. And so, all credit goes to the entire team because every person involved contributed something to it, which made the final product what it is. And so you can't say if you didn't take out the sound people or the coloring people or, all of those that we'd have exactly the movie that we have. So, that's been probably, I don't know if it was a revelation, but it's certainly been the best thing that's come out of it for me personally is the connections I've made with the team that we have and the experience I had in making it with them. Those are the things that I'm gonna remember and cling on to. As much as people love the movie and responding to it, I think it just the degree to which the joy I had in making it with the team that we have, it supersedes everything. And I can't wait to, people get addicted to that kind of experience. So I'm basically looking now for my next project so that I can have that experience again. Because when you have a group of people who are all collaborating on something creative and you all kind of have the same goal in mind, it's one of the most pleasurable experiences you can have. Certainly the most pleasurable experience I've ever had.
Well, I can't wait to see what you all get up to next. And it makes me happy to hear. It makes me so happy to hear a director who has a respect for the team because it is a creative, collaborative process. But you also had
Absolutely.
some really, you had some beautiful names on this project. You had Tim Curry involved. Of course, your father was involved. Patricia Quinn,
Mm.
who won
Mhm.
my heart during the watching of this film. She was just fantastic. It's selfish of me to ask, but I have to ask you, what was it like to sit down with Tim Curry first, and then we can talk about some of the other people you had in this film.
I mean, it was an amazing experience, really, because, Tim Curry is such a force of nature. And even with his, infirmities that he has from the stroke that he had in 2012, he's still vital. He's still sarcastic. He still has a very dry wit and is very touched by the fans that have loved his performances over the years. So to get a chance to have him involved, share his story and be part of the Rocky story that we wanted to tell, it meant everything.
Yeah. He had some really beautiful insights about the piece and about how its impact on him. I just, that was a
Hmm.
highlight of the film. Uh,
Hmm.
who else were you excited to talk with? Was there anyone else who stands out as something that was just really fantastic to get to sit down with them?
I mean, it's probably the most meaningful conversation I had was probably with my dad's old childhood friend, Chrissy Shrimpton, who he met in acting class when he arrived from New Zealand. She was able to give an insight into my dad that no one else could, because you often share stories that you wouldn't with your family or with your coworkers. You would share them with your close personal friends. And so she had a real insight into my dad in those formative years when they were in acting school and while he was trying to make a career that no one else could speak to. I think my producers were like, really? Do we really need her? And I was like, listen, I think it's gonna really be important for her to be involved and say things that about my dad that no one else could really.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's a very interesting take to give some context to the
Hmm.
man. And
Hmm.
I, I, I found it so moving hearing him 50 years removed or more play those songs on the acoustic guitar. It was some of the most moving
Hmm.
points. I can't imagine. It recontextualized him in my mind as this monolithic figure who has been with me for 30 years parasocially. It just
Sure.
made it humanized him. It was just a beautiful choice to put that in the film.
Yeah, it was really, really important for us to fly Richard Hartley and over to New Zealand, and then for us to travel there and have them sit down at the piano with songs that they hadn't done so in 50 years. And to get the rendition of Superheroes that we did, it was we struck gold basically, because the thing was, my dad said before they were going to sit down, "I was like, listen, we're not going to perform." And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, we're just gonna, if a song comes up, we'll break into it for a bit, and what we get is what we get. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's go for it. And so all the music that you see in the movie, those are all one takes. We never went over the songs again. They just did it. They picked up immediately. So for them to do that rendition of Superheroes, which is in the movie, and it's just perfect. I'm like, God, how do they manage to do that? Like they didn't practice. They didn't do it again. They did it in one take. I'm like, oh, just really, really happy to capture that.
Well, such a clever choice on your end to end the documentary with that song. I was like, as a true fan, I was like, yes, I got the deep cut there. That was great.
Right. Amazing.
Um, as a cis straight man who loves Rocky Horror, I feel like Rocky Horror is for everyone. And when I was talking with a few other creators that I know that I'd just seen the documentary, one of them sent me a photo of him as Brad in a shadow cast after 150 performances in a shadow cast. I'm always surprised at the people who are diehard fans of this movie. Are you ever surprised about the demographics of the people that you're encountering? Because we think of Rocky Horror as existing in a queer space a lot of the time. Are you ever surprised
Hmm.
by the people who tell you that they love the film?
No, not at all, really, because I think Trixie spoke to it as well. Trixie Mattel, who we interview, when she first started performing in Rocky and her shadow cast, I think most of the cast were straight at the time, and so they were just doing Rocky. They weren't. Rocky is never, the thing about Rocky is Rocky's never tried to bang you over the head with themes or what to think, right? It presented a lot of kind of transgressive material and transgressive themes, but that was never its intent. I think if it had been its intent, you would see a lot more uproar over from the conservative sides of society. But because it's so just filled with joy and fun, it's really hard to push back against something when it is full of joy and fun. It's very difficult. You can't get outraged about it because Rocky doesn't allow you to get outraged about it. So yeah, it never surprises me who likes Rocky because they're from all walks of life, and then they all kind of
Mhm.
find each other through Rocky. I'm amazed at the community and the bonds that have been formed within the various shadow casts over the years. What's really kind of gratifying to me, and I don't know how much I thought about it, was that you have three generations of Rocky fans, but you also have three generations of Rocky Shadowcast fans. And at our documentary, you're having grandmas who are in Shadowcast Rocky meet teenagers that are currently in Rocky Shadowcast. And so you're getting that connection continues now. And so I didn't know if I thought maybe, our documentary would end up on streaming and people would process it that way. But because we made a push to have it in theaters, we're now seeing the benefits of that. And it's very important that the documentary came into theaters because documentaries, A, don't come into theaters very often, and B, they don't have the emotional reaction necessarily that our documentary has. So to have it all work out the way that it has, um, yeah, I sometimes I feel like the universe conspires to help us make things, and we're kind of just on this wave riding what we started, basically. Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, amazing experience for me and our team.
And not to put too fine a point on it, I think the point is made in the documentary that the original production was in a theater with a blank movie screen behind it, and now people are doing theater with a movie playing behind them, and now your documentary about the people in the theater with the screen is on a screen. It's just a beautiful cycle, and I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, it's really weird that cycle continues because, Rocky celebrated its 50s B movies. And what happened with the midnight screenings is Rocky started supporting cinemas that were going out of business. So they could rely on a full house Friday and Saturday night, and that would allow the cinema to remain open. And so Rocky has this strange way of supporting the very thing it was celebrating. And what a amazing time we are at now, because obviously cinema attendance is at an all-time low compared to what it was. And so now Rocky is again celebrating cinema, people watching movies together, and hopefully our documentaries doing the same thing. So just very circular, the whole business basically.
I love that. And yes, it is playing
Hmm.
in my city at a one screen theater that is specializing in indie films, and I hope that that drives traffic to them because they're in the heart of our cultural district. Um,
Great.
I know you mentioned community as one of the big themes of the Rocky Horror Show and the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I
Hmm.
totally agree with that theme and the legacy of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I wonder what you would say, and you don't have to speak for your dad, but I wonder what you would say Richard would say the legacy of the Rocky Horror Show is.
I mean, I think he'd probably echo what I'm saying, and I think he said it towards one of the most like touching moments at the end of the movie. He talks about he was in no man's land, and I think the thing about Rocky, it helps people feel like they're not alone, you know. And so what an amazing thing to be a part of in even just a small sense. I mean, it's not ours, it's not my dad's, it's not mine, it's the fans. And to feel like you've had in some small way, help people feel like they're not alone. I'm getting choked up about it because I can't think of anything better to spend my time associated with on planet Earth than making or helping people feel like they're not alone. So if our documentary helps continue that feeling, then it's a blessing. It's an absolute blessing.
And that is a beautiful moment, a humble moment from your father, and probably a humbling moment for your father, where he says that Rocky doesn't belong to him, it belongs to the fans. It's a humble thing to say,
Hmm.
and it was such a
Hmm.
beautiful moment. I have to say, I watched it with my wife, who is a co-editor here at Dread Alert Media, and she was in
Hmm.
tears. She's 7 months pregnant. She's like, my pregnant ass can't handle this right now. So uh,
Wow!
it was
Congratulations to you
such a
both.
beautiful moment. Thank you very much, and hopefully a fourth generation of Rocky fans will be entering into the conversation here soon. Um,
Right, right,
so
right.
I have a couple of quick questions or variations of these we ask all of our guests, and we can run down them quickly. If you don't have an answer, that's fine. If you need to think about it, we'll put it in the show description. But do you have a
Okay.
favorite sci-fi or B horror movie or B movie that would play at midnight?
Well, it's funny. I'm my dad was very influenced by science fiction movies from the 50s, and I was very influenced by science fiction movies from the 70s. So I have a lot of 70s sci-fi that I'm really attached to. Logan's Run was something that I loved. Omega Man, I loved that. Soylent
Yeah.
Green, I love that. Like these kind of dystopian 70s sci-fi. It's just like I can't get enough of all that stuff. I mean, and then obviously, in the later 70s, there's Star Wars and there's Alien. The production design on Alien is like top level. Like you can't get immersed in a world more than Alien. Forget about the subject matter and the storyline. Just being transported through that world through the production design of Geiger and Ridley Scott. I mean, you just want to live in that world. And I think I think that's a similar feeling that Rocky fans have. They want to live in that world. So if you can make a movie that makes you want to be inside of it, I think you're on the right track.
I love that. That is a solid answer.
Mhm.
So on our channel, we primarily do horror reviews and horror interviews. So I wanted to ask, do you have a favorite horror film?
It's funny because horror has never really been my thing that much. I think my son actually likes horror movies more than I do. There were some horror movies from the the 80s, which I kind of tuned into. Salem's Lot was one of them. And then another one, I don't know if it's horror, but The Dead Zone, that's another Stephen King.
Mm,
So those I think I feel like they go slightly more into the psychological than rather the gore. That's for sure.
hmm
Nightmare on Elm Street was a huge one for me. That's a classic movie now that spawned several sequels. But I think that's about it. My son takes me to see horror movies all the time, and I haven't really connected with one. There was one. What was that one? Is it by Ari Aster? What did he do? Like, do you remember? What was that horror
Hereditary
movie?
or Midsummer.
Hereditary, yeah, yeah. So I saw Hereditary, and I was like, wow, this is like, forget about the horror elements. This is like a really amazing film. In fact, that stood out more than anything afterwards. And then Midsommar was super creepy as well. So yeah, I enjoyed those. I like it when it gets more psychological than horror than gore based, I guess.
There's not a bad choice on that list. I think all of those are
Mm.
solid recommendations.
All right, cool.
Well, okay. Well, are you working on anything next that you'd like to plug?
I'm working on three things which I can't plug. So one's a mockumentary about a very famous personality. The second one is a docu-series which is kind of Rocky based, which I can't say too much about. And then the third one is a science fiction film, a treatment that I've written that if someone will give me 20 to 30 million dollars, I might be able to make it. So, yeah, so lots of projects in the pipeline. I don't want to stop this train that I'm on. So, yeah, hopefully it all comes together.
Well, like I said before, I'm excited to see what you get up to next. Where can people see the
Mm.
film?
So it's out in theaters in the United States and in the UK. It's going to come to Blu-ray and DVD and streaming in the UK on October 20th. And then the extended run in theaters in the US is going to go to Halloween and maybe a little bit beyond. And then I think it's either going to go to streaming shortly after that, or we're in talks now for with a distribution company to do another push in theatrical and see if it can just keep going through award season. So, yeah, what but go to rockyhorror.com and just type in your city and see where it's playing near you, or follow Rocky Horror Documentary on Instagram or Linus.O'Brien on Instagram, and you'll be kept up to speed with everything.
That is fantastic. I highly recommend you all do this. This documentary is moving, it's informative, and if you're a fan of the show or if you're a fan of the movie, you will not be disappointed. Linus has done some incredible work here. Linus, thank you
Oh.
so much for joining us today.
Oh, listen, it's been a pleasure, Vince. I really enjoyed chatting with you. Can't wait to see this online soon.
Likewise. Well, excellent. As always, stay spooky, my friends.